I guess we're jumping in then.
Sure.
This is it. So we got some stuff to talk about, man. We had a nice interview with Dave again last podcast, and we're working on lining up some more writers, I think, to
Yeah,
talk
we
to.
we have at least one more stacked up.
Well, that's going to be great. And then we got kind of chatting over the text message and email here before about just kind of like grinding stuff out. But before
Hmm.
we do that, is like you want to get into any sort of side notes, if you will, like some what do you call them?
Well, how about some
Side
Castle
missions?
Castle Rock talk?
Oh yeah, Castle Rock talk. Should we spoil it?
No, we don't have to spoil it too heavily.
No, I don't think so. Like we don't have to describe what goes on. We could just talk about our feelings.
Yeah, because it's a like we talked about it in text, a typical Stephen King ending. It just plays with your feelings. Is that
Yeah.
spoiling it?
No. No. It was I don't know, like considering that he didn't write any of this, like it's not he didn't write any of this story. It's
Hmm.
all just kind of set in his world. And I heard about this show on the I was listening to the Kevin Smith podcast, and the guy who co-hosts Kevin Smith podcasts, Mark Bernardin, he's one of the writers in the show. I really like Mark Bernardin, so I was like, well, I was pretty excited. I watched this Castle Rock show. I'm a big Stephen King fan, as I know you are, and I'm watching this show, and I'm thinking, wow, they really. If I wouldn't know any better, I'd think that they have like he was writing this.
Hmm.
How, did you think the same?
It had all the parts.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes the adaptations you can tell that things went astray, but it you couldn't really tell.
Well, no, you couldn't, and they did such a good job that we got to the end of the show, and they nailed Stephen King so bad that they even either intentionally or unintentionally captured wholeheartedly his sucky endings.
Hmm. Yeah, pretty
But
much, pretty much
I
nailed it.
yeah, I don't want to poop on it or anything like that too hard, but I like the show for the most part. It kept me watching and everything like that, and there was enough Stephen King DNA in there that I was just like, I was totally going, and I'll probably wind up watching the second season here. I know it kind of centers around Annie Wilkes and her cool duty heads and Mr. Mans, and I just just to hang out with Annie Wilkes one more time would be great. So I think I'm gonna keep watching that one.
What about the Outsider miniseries?
I haven't watched it. I haven't watched it, but I know Jason Bateman there has been on a real tear. He's got that Ozark show that I also haven't watched
Mhm.
that I hear nothing but awesome things about. And um, Cynthia Erivo, I'm probably messing up her last name. She's in that show too, and I don't know if you ever watched the movie. I saw her in um, Bad Times at the El Royale. I
Haven't
don't.
seen that one.
Oh, dude, it's a good movie, and she just kicks ass in it. She's just great.
Hmm.
So I want to watch that one, but you know, with all these things, we're busy guys. The timing has to be right.
I like the Outsider more than Castle Rock.
Yeah, he's did he so I'm not really so familiar with that story. Did he actually write that story? Is it based on one of his books?
It's based on a novel, yes.
Oh, okay. So I find like when I haven't read I want to say I don't know that I've read a whole lot of Stephen King lately. I think the last thing I read was about 10 years ago. I read the Dark Tower, and then I maybe got I finished that. What did I read? No, it was like The Long Walk. I think I read The Long Walk, and then I started reading other stuff. The Dark, no, what was it? The Dead Zone. I caught that one. I never read that one when I was younger, so but I haven't read a whole lot of Stephen King stuff. And I know he can be kind of like one book will be amazing, and then another one will be just a total here you go, like a total hamburger and fries, which
Yeah,
he's
that
described himself as.
yeah, like I believe somewhere along the lines in his book about writing, he says you don't have to be a great writer, you just have to be good.
Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes he has been great, and I don't know, that one looks pretty. That one looks pretty cool. But some of the stuff, like I don't know, that he's kind of got a big resurgence going on right now. I'm kind of happy to see it because I've always kind of um, liked the way he tells stories. And the thing about his stories is there's so much story in one of his books that if you were to make a movie of it, if you were smart, you could go through and you could pick out all the cool stuff that works and throw out all the weird stuff that doesn't work because he kind of meanders around, right? Like even that Castle Rock show, it goes from one thing to the next and just kind of like, there's a whole bunch of crazy plot points and then they all kind of come to something in the end. But it meanders along the way, right? They don't just go like from one thing to the next, like a 3-act movie or something like that. And I've always kind of liked that. You don't know where his books are going to go. Um, so I don't know. I think that he, if a director or a showrunner is smart or whatever, they could pick out all those things that kind of like really make the core of his story, being that there's so much material in all of them. He's a unique writer that way.
One thing they did have in Castle Rock that I thought was pretty interesting, and I don't think it'll spoil anything, is Dude had that trailer with the quiet chamber in it.
Oh yeah.
So now there is a lab where they built the quietest room on Earth. And so here's just off the internet. This article says Earth's quietest place will drive you crazy in 45 minutes. Inside the room, it's so silent that the background noise measured is actually negative decibels.
Is this article from a while ago?
Yes,
Yeah, I remember seeing this way back. It was probably like what, 10 years ago or something like that.
2013.
Oh really, 2013? Oh, seven. I was a little off. I remember. Is that seven? What year? What year is this? What year?
2020.
I remember seeing something
That's
like
7.
that and thinking that I remember reading like a guy went in there and he's like you could hear like all the blood moving around in your head and everything like that. And
That's what he says. You'll hear your heart beating. Sometimes you can hear your lungs, hear your stomach gurgling loudly. You become the sound.
oh, that's too weird, man. That's too
So that's
weird.
that's a feature in that show. And I thought that was interesting because they claimed that the guy invented it there, but it was invented previously. He didn't invent it.
Well,
The character in the book, but yeah,
it's
it's
a
a pretty it's a pretty weird looking room too.
oh man, we're gonna have to talk about the show offline because we're gonna get into I gotta throw some theories your way here. But you've been watching another show that I really liked called The Leftovers.
Yes.
So how'd it go? You got to the end, and I know we just kind of chatted a little bit about it, but over text and not over a live wire here.
Well, I guess you know the basic plot is 2% of the entire world, 2% of the people in the entire world just disappear,
Yeah,
and no one knows where they went, and it's just a random selection of people: babies, murderers, lawyers, housewives, children, just random people, right?
perfect strangers.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the perfect strangers, but not all of them.
Poor cousin Larry's left behind.
uh, yeah, and the funny thing is, throughout the show, I keep hearing his voice and instantly remembering it, like remembering the show, Perfect Strangers. So it's a callback to a weird time in my life, I guess.
Yeah, that was really the thing that caught me off guard watching it was I used to watch Perfect Strangers all the time, and then all of a sudden there's this like Perfect Strangers reference in the middle of this show.
Yeah,
And I hadn't even thought about it for so long. I'm like, holy shit, yeah, I used to watch that. Love
yeah.
Perfect Strangers.
And then the one episode, the title track, or the music at the intro is the song from Perfect Strangers.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty different.
That was in the third season where they just threw caution to the wind and they had to have a different song
That's right.
play at every. Yeah, I like that touch. There was a lot of good touches in that show. A lot of good characters too, and there's lots of stuff. A lot of people like to poo-poo on Damon Lindelof uh, for his Lost days and his Prometheus days, and but this show's worthwhile. It's probably one of my favorites. I'm glad you watched it.
How about Homecoming? Have you heard of that one?
Homecoming. Um,
Yes.
I've heard of it, but I don't know what it's about.
Okay, so Julia Roberts is in it, uh, and Sissy Spacek is in it, and a few other people I'm sure everybody is very familiar with, but I'm not. But the basic premise of it is Heidi Bergman, who is Julia Roberts, is a social worker at a homecoming transitional support center, which is where they take in soldiers that have PTSD and they basically try to get them back ready for re-entry to society. Except for something weird is going on. Let's just say it's a pretty good show.
Oh,
But
it's
what
got a
I thought the
twist.
most interesting about this show is the uh, the sound score sounds like it was made in the 70s.
Oh yeah.
It's quite the throwback.
So you've watched this whole? There's a whole season out.
I watched the first season. There's there's at least two seasons.
Oh yeah. I didn't even know I was. I like Julia Roberts. I didn't even know she was in anything lately.
I guess it premiered in 2018, so
Oh
it's been out
really?
for a little while.
Hmm. Well, I'll have to click that off the old list. Put it on the list.
And that one's on Amazon Prime.
Oh yeah. I did watch. We watched Sharp Objects. Have you seen this show?
Haven't seen Sharp Objects.
Amy Adams and Patricia Clarkson. She's deadly. She's really good in this show, and it's a really weird, twisted family kind of murder mystery drama.
Hmm.
I don't know what I'd compare it to. I don't know, but it was really good. It was just really, really weird, and I liked it. And we just crushed the whole thing. Just watch the whole thing. It's only one season. It's just a mini series. It's based off a Gillian Flynn book. She wrote Gone Girl. I don't know if you watched Gone Girl.
Yes, we did see that.
Yeah, so it's her story, and she was pretty heavily. I think she wrote all the screenplays and picked like one director. And I really like these shows that have just like one guy or one person just do the whole show. The other one I'm thinking of was what's the other one like that I really liked? Oh, True Detective. The first season of that, they had one. I can't remember his name, but he did the whole first season of the show. He directed the whole thing, and it was just one like tied in vision. There wasn't like one episode that was like weird and stood out or whatever. It was just all kind of like it was all one big movie. It was great, and this show kind of follows that plot line too. And they just everybody who like they were all firing on all cylinders. Like it's a good show. It's a good show.
Okay, well, I'll have to check into that one.
Oh yeah, fun times. But we've been just kind of pooping around, filling our COVID time here with the odd TV show when we're not working in the yard.
Yeah, same here.
Bored to tears.
Well, why don't we get down to grinding?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're grinding out this COVID wave. We could talk about grinding.
Hey.
So we've been having some discussions here because I got all hopped up and inspired to write since we last talked with Dave, and then you and I kind of had a discussion the other day, just kind of about just putting things down on paper and getting things done, and the ways to go about doing that here. So you helped me out a lot. I'm going to say I sat down today and did some mapping and stuff like that, and now I'm ready for the grind. But you had an analogy. You sent me a little article. I think you're posting the article, or you haven't posted it yet. I don't know.
It should be coming out on Medium in the next couple days. Yeah.
Oh, we have. Are we going to talk about it, or should we spoil your
Sure.
article?
Oh, go for it.
No, like you had a great analogy there with the Tomb Raider video game, right? So we were talking about Tomb Raider, which is a game I played, and that was a big grind too, right?
It was a huge grind.
Yeah. And it has a really good payoff if you persevere through the game. It's a good analogy for life, right? You shoot your T-Rex. It takes a long time to shoot that T-Rex.
Yeah, just blazing away. It's amazing how many 9mm rounds you can put into a T-Rex before it finally goes down, eh?
Yeah, I mean, so it is like, and especially if you don't save your ammo, you're going to be grinding whether you like it or not. And I was not an ammo saver in all these games. I was a run and gun kind of guy. I still am, but the same analogy. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with the article. Is it just applies to all these things? There's just all these small steps that you have to take in order to get the big thing that you need to get to, right? Marathon running and becoming a doctor, just getting a pretty much anything you want is going to be hard work.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that if you could actually find ways to cheat your way to the top, you'd be happy with that.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I'd like to say that I've tried, but I just can't seem to find the way to cheat.
Well, we all try, but I think we're misinformed when we're doing our trying there. Like to find a hack that would cut our way to the top, and then the reward wouldn't be in it. I know if the reason I was playing Tomb Raider to start with is because it was hard. It wasn't easy. You didn't just walk in and there's the answer, and the trap was easy to disarm, and you just jump easily without ever falling and dying. No, sometimes you had to jump 5,000 times in order to make that one triple backflip sideways whatever jump.
Yeah, or the swimming levels are the ones that always got me. You'd have to swim down and pull the lever underwater, and then swim back up in time to
Oh
pull the
yeah.
other one.
Yeah, and then halfway through you just drown.
Yeah, it's just frustrating as hell, right? And that's, I don't know, that's more or less the way you have to do it if you want to get to the end of something and you want to see it through. Like, there's a good reward. Like, that game is a good reward. I think it was that game where if you play it through to the end, you can go back and play the whole game, but you have unlimited ammo. So it's got its own built-in cheat mode.
Hmm. I don't remember going back. I remember buying the next game in the lineup.
Was that the
Um,
one? Was that in Venice? That one?
I think there was one in Venice at one point.
You're driving the boat around and you had a motorbike and
I only made
can't.
there was I ran out of patience with them before I finished all of them. I think I finished the first six games. They're probably still making them for all I know.
Well, I just played one a couple years ago, like a total reboot of the whole thing. That was great. It was great. It was on the PlayStation 4, and I loved it. I still have it. I've been trying to get my kids to play it because I love Tomb Raider so much that I'm like, you guys have to play this. It's really fun. But they don't. They don't. They play Roadblocks or Roblox. What's that game? You don't know. You don't play Roblox, do you?
No, I don't.
Good. Don't even look it up. I just call it roadblocks because it really irritates my kids. They don't call it. I think it's called Roblox, but I just call it roadblocks because it sounds funnier. Nobody laughs at my jokes. That's okay. But no, like that's the thing. It's a constant thing, and this is kind of something that I've had troubles with in sort of my extracurricular activities is is grinding things out, right? Like, I get started on stuff and then I lose steam, and it's just kind of like an organizational thing for me. And it's, you and I kind of talked about kind of putting your thoughts down so that you can kind of have that big whole map that where you can see, like, hey, if you do all this stuff, you're going to get to this cool place in the end, right? And that's kind of the problem that I have, and I think a lot of people have, is that they can't see why they're doing it from where they're sitting, right? They can't see the forest from the trees. And that's I don't know, it's kind of a great message out there, is that you got to just take that next step, and just kind of work and grind and pick away at stuff. And if you can just chisel away at whatever you want to do, you'll get to that cool thing in the end, right? I don't know, just going on
Makes
like a
sense.
maniac. Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. I never thought about it that way, but even with what I've been writing about yoga and meditation, I always like to do something like a 90-day challenge because it gives me a process, right?
Hmm.
It gives me a way to grind it out. Like, say, for instance, I'm going to do 90 days of meditation and I'm on day 3. Well, then I get to cross off day 3 when I get it done. And that gives me day 4 to look forward to. It's just like when you're climbing a mountain, you don't just run over and just jump on a cliff and just flail around. No, you're trying to go up. You know where the top is. You know where you're headed when you're climbing a mountain. You're not just aimlessly, you know, scrabbling sideways. You have a goal.
Yeah, or you should, or you might wind up
Yeah.
falling to your death. But no, that's exactly it, right? And that's kind of the I don't know. I think you and I kind of have a different approach to stuff, and it works. Like yours works. Yours works really good for you, and mine doesn't work at all for me. And I think I think like grabbing onto a bit of what you've of what's allowed you to do some of the things that you've done is kind of helping me out a bit too. So it's pretty good. I'm
But I just stole these things from everybody else. We talked about Stephen King. He's got a process where he just grinds out 2,000 words a day.
Yeah, you know what? Since we talked about this a couple days ago, it is kind of like just getting into the process and doing the grind and figuring out all the stuff. Like the more people I look at that I admire, I can just kind of when I've looked up how they operate and how they do the stuff that they do. They kind of have the same mentality too. Like, I mean, one of the guys that I really like is Neil Gaiman, and that's one of the things that he said. He had this video, and people ask him questions all the time about how you finish writing a novel. And I remember him saying, you just got to put one word after the next, after the next, after the next. And he was pretty simple about the whole thing, but he's like, that's it. That's what you have to do. And it is that simple to a certain extent. Like you just have to put it down. You just have to keep grinding your thing out. Right. And David Lynch is another one. When people ask him how he comes up with all this outlandishly crazy shit, and he has a very similar answer. He's like, well, you get a little idea and you write that idea down, and then that idea turns into another idea, and you write that one down next to it. And then you just, all of a sudden, you just kind of have this whole big web of ideas. And the next thing you know, they're feeding each other the stuff that ideas need to eat. And before you know it, you have all these ideas, right? And that's the grind. That's the artist, I guess, or writer grind, or whatever you are. And the same thing applies to, I think, anything that you want to do that's worth something, like you say in your article. It's that constant process of just staying on task and staying kind of focused on what you really want to do. So,
yeah, it doesn't matter whether you want to be a nurse or a welder or a writer.
Yeah, it's going to take
kind of the same. You're just going to have to do the things that gets you to be a nurse. You got to,
right.
You got to do the studying, and then you got to do the practical. Same thing with anybody that's foolish enough to want to be a welder. First, you have to get an apprenticeship, then you have to put some time in at work, then you go to school, you learn things, and you go back, you do your practical, and then you just constantly upgrade your skills, and then you actually get there and you grab welding rods and you burn them and you join metal together, and you get in trouble and do shitty welds, and then you fix those welds and you learn how to be better. It's the same for every one of these processes.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, and the thing I think about too is you and I have been through that process. We both did the same job, and that was an apprenticeship kind of functionality. And I just remember when I was doing the whole thing, I couldn't see the end of it, and it just seemed like such a slog. But
meaningless slog too.
Yeah, but I got to the end of it, and I really enjoyed my career afterwards. And I just needed a boot in the ass, and sometimes, you just have to have that person around to give you the old heave ho. It's got to happen. That's what I guess people are for, giving you a kick. But it's the same thing. Like once you get to the end, it kind of, you go on to the next thing, and you go on to the next thing, and you go on to the next thing, right? Or maybe you're happy where you are, and you stay there when you get to enjoy it. And, there's I don't know, sound like a bargain basement philosopher here, but it does work. And it's kind of I'm talking about a boot in the ass here, and I think you just gave me one with your kind of mapping method. So it's good. Every once in a while, a person needs that.
Well, that's what writing these articles do every day for me. Writing books is one thing, but the thing is, you plan a big project, and then you just work on that project, and then you hit the end of it, and then you're just kind of in limbo till you force yourself to start another project, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas And you don't actually, I didn't get the practice in writing that I needed. So now that I'm writing every day and trying to do a full article per day, I realized that my previous writing was garbage. I just didn't have the time in. I wasn't polishing, if you know what I mean. I was relying on somebody else to edit my work for way too
Hmm.
much. Now there's no other editor. So now I have to write and then rewrite and then rewrite and then rewrite. And then before I actually hit publish, look at it again and go, oh crap, missed a comma or whatever.
Yeah.
It's really making me polish stuff up better. And I went back to look at one of my books that I wrote and basically face in hands.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I have kind of the same problem as I'll when I do finish something. So I'll give you an example here. And I might have said this once before. Is I put for my wife's birthday. I won't say which one because that would give away too much. But I drew her a picture. So I went and I had this thing all done and I slogged it out. I grinded it out.
I got to stop you here for a second.
Sure.
When you say which one, do you mean which wife or which birthday?
No, which birthday? I've only had one wife, but I'm not going to give away her birthday.
Okay.
But I grinded it out and then I gave it to, and I had this thing and I had a frame for it and I was putting it in the frame and I looked at this thing and I was like, this is a sack of shit. And I was just like 2 seconds away from whipping it in the garbage. And I'm glad I didn't. Like, I mean, I think you're your own self-critic and most people are when they put something together, especially if it's like, if you know, like the first thing I thought is that I could do better than this. So I wasn't going to put it in the frame, but if I hadn't have done it, I would have never given it to her. And she's really happy with it and she really likes it. And I really like it too. And I like it because it isn't like it's not perfect, but it just made us both happy. And it is what it needed to be at the time. So that's kind of like the hard part about putting that stuff out there is you just, when you do finish something, you just have to release it. It has to go out there and warts and all, and that's what it has to be. And if you like it, you like it. But the part of the process is the next one you do it better or more how you want, or that's just the way it is. But the hard part is, and this is one of the things that I kind of admire, is that you put that stuff out there. It's hard to do. It's hard to put that stuff out there for the most part. And I don't do it a lot of the times. I just kind of do something and then I hide it away it's like a little, I don't know what you call a hoarder, an idea hoarder, right? I don't put them out for criticism or anything like that. It's hard to hear to hear criticism about your work. So, but that's what I'm working on more or less, is that now I want to have this stuff and I want to put it out there and just, get the feedback and all that stuff. It's hard to do, but it's hard to go back and look at it too. Like, I mean, the only thing I've ever written is a screenplay, and I don't really, I go back and I look at that and I have the same exact repulsion to it that you do. I totally understand it. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I thought about going back and revisiting it one day and rewriting it. But I mean, I think that ship has sailed. Maybe there'll be a time for that down the road, but it just is what it is now. And it's part of who I was, I think, when I was the age I was when I wrote it, and warts and all, there it is. It's in my shelf. I got it.
It's hard to resist though. I look at the 3 books I wrote and 2 of them I would go back and change. And the only reason I wouldn't change the other one is because I had a co-author, so I can't really change that, right?
Yeah. No, there's no change in that. Someone would get mad. But no, it's hard. Like, you go back and change it, but then you're always working on the same thing, right?
You might Lucas yourself.
Yeah, and that's a good example, really, because I mean, those movies are. Here's the thing: I own those movies in the original versions, and that's the one I like to watch him in. And I know he doesn't like it, and I totally understand where he's coming from. But that's part of the charm that made it what it is these things went out there. They just had to go out there. That's the way it worked. If you didn't put it out there, you're on a deadline, and you told everyone your movie's coming out this day 43 years ago, just so you know. Well, not so you know. What an asshole. Just so everyone knows, 43 years ago today, May 25th, 77, Star Wars. So he put it out there, and whether it was done or not, or he didn't like the little flicker on the lightsaber here, the spaceship going off there, it went out, and that's the way it was, and there's nothing he could do about it. And he sat there stewing about it for till 1997 and decided to change them all, and it's to a detriment. Most people who grew up with those movies don't like watching those versions, myself included. I'd rather go back and see the ugly, shitty stuff that doesn't have all the cool bells and whistles and new things, right? It's part of the charm. And that's the thing a lot of people don't understand when they make something, is that when you put it out there, especially if it's a popular piece of art, people like it for the things that are wrong with it just as much as they like it for the things that are right with it. If that
Yeah, and
makes
how much different would the whole thing have turned out if you would have left them alone? Like, he's partially to blame with where we're at now, even though he's not directly involved anymore.
Well, yeah, I get kind of what I have an appreciation for what he was trying to do, because there's a whole lot of things going on with that guy, right? Because he's working on, we didn't know it at the time, but he was working on, well, 2 years after he put those movies out in the theater, Phantom Menace was out in the theater. So he was kind of working on stuff and kind of working out the technologies he was going to use in the next movie to a certain extent with the original trilogy.
Yeah, that's true.
And so there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. He didn't have like some movie that he could just do that stuff with. He'd been working on things for years that were just kind of behind the scenesy stuff. Like all that company that he owned was working on Jurassic Park, and he did a movie called Radioland Murders. And oh my God, I'm getting in my Lucasfilm nerdery here. But but there was all these movies that he'd done and things that he'd done all the way up. And he's just kind of a different beast, that guy, because I don't think that entirely what he was trying to do was just kind of alter them and make them perfect. I think he was also trying to like use them as a
guinea pig.
Yeah, and yeah, like a not blank canvas for doing something that he wanted to do next, but on something that's already been there, right? Like
well, and maybe he sees it the way that we're talking about. Like he saw something that he wanted to do, he did it, and now we can just suck it up.
Well, that's it. And I mean, I'm not a when it comes, we talk about Star Wars a lot. No, well, I like the thing that I like, right? So, and I have that available to me. I've got my Laserdisc set that I can watch when I want to. That's the original cut, the way it came out. Excuse me, in the theater. And if you're a sly dog, you can go around the internet and you can find a cut, or like an original print of the movie that people have like remastered in 4K, and it's lovely too. But you're stealing when you do that, so I don't recommend that, and I don't know anyone who has either. but yeah, it's just kind of he's kind of got a weird process. Like I like to think, you remember there was a lady who I can't remember what she was doing, but there was this painting, and it was like a painting of Jesus or something like that. She thought she could do it better, so she went and she grabbed her paintbrush. She kind of like, brushed it up, tried to restore it or whatever, and then she just made this like blob man. Do you remember this from a few years ago? It was like this priceless painting, and she took a paintbrush to it and just like kind of just screwed the whole thing right up. Yeah, it was like a couple 100-year-old painting or something like this, priceless. And she just got to it with a brush, and that's kind of like more or less what he did with the other one. But we know what the old one looks like, and we know what the new one looks like, and the new one looks like a friggin' travesty, but the old one looked great, and we have pictures of it, but there it is. We can never see it again. But yeah, that's in all the nuts and bolts of it. That's the kind of, I think it's kind of like the Schrone loop you can kind of get into if you start going back and revisiting your work a lot. And it's sometimes it's worth it, and I think other times you just have to let it fly.
You got to think about it like iteration. You look at what you did, and if you can, you learn something from it, then you move to the next thing.
Yeah, and you know what? Some of the things if you're like I found when I did write the screenplay that I wrote, that idea came from another screenplay that I worked on with a friend of mine, and I just kind of expanded on the themes that I some of the things that I had when we were kind of brainstorming the original story for the one, and some of the more outlandish plot points. And I worked those into the screenplay that I wanted to write, right? So even the one that I had was kind of like an iteration from something else. And there's certain things that I have in my screenplay that are probably going to kind of slide into some of my other work down the road if I ever wind up doing more stuff. And just kind of has like a little bit of a, I don't know, I guess like a psychic signature for me or something like that, right? So things kind of morph and change or whatever, and it's nice, it's good, that's the way they should be, I think. But yeah, I don't know, I just kind of, it's like remakes, we talk about remakes and reboots and all that stuff, and are they really worth it in the end to go back and watch another version of RoboCop when the other one's just great? No.
I'm really
Probably.
not a fan of reboots and remakes, as we already discussed. I like moving forward.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the thing too, right? You got to put that picture in the frame. You got to give it away for a birthday present. You got to put that story down on paper. You got to let it fly out in the world and just see how it goes. And if the next one's going to come along, and if that's the way it has to be, then that's the way it has to be. But you can always just kind of change the next one. Make it how you like it.
I wrote an article a couple days ago, 3 days ago, and I submitted it to a publication and they rejected it. So then I just kind of went over it, repolished it up, submitted it to a different place and they accepted it. So it's out there now.
Yeah.
And I think like I'm coming up with a headline for these articles per day. So, and I've got a different sense of what would make a good headline than a lot of people maybe. Well, this one really backfired on me, I think, because my reading rate on it is really, really low. Like nobody even wants to open this one. And the title is 5 Ways to Build a New Habit by Unleashing Your Inner Evil Genius. Now, to me, I would see that and I would instantly, well, what's that about? That's different, right?
Well, it's got the clickbait. It's got the clickbait factor for sure. It gives you a number. You want to know what that number is.
And it mentions evil geniuses.
Yeah, it mentions evil geniuses. It's kind of got that intrigue factor to it. I'd click on that. I don't know why. The internet is a fickle place. You don't know what people are going to click on and what they're not. Right?
Okay, so now I could mess with it, right? I could go back and I could mess around with the title. I could do this, I could do that. But really, the thing is, it's already been rejected once, basically twice now. So, or I could take it down and throw it away, or I could just leave it alone and go do something else and stop worrying about it, I guess, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the hard part is you have to make that snap decision too. If something's worth it or not, right? Like for me, and I had this before I sat down to write the thing I'm writing right now. I had a serious thought where I was like, I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at that screenplay that I wrote in 1998, and I'm going to pull that back up and rewrite that. And then I just sat down and said, "What for? It's no, no, don't do that. If you don't like it, write something new." But there's been people like I know Good Will Hunting, for a matter of fact, that went through everything. Like when you hear those two guys talk about that screenplay that they wrote for that, and Ben Affleck and Matt Damon wrote that together, I believe, and they sit down, they talk about how many iterations that screenplay went to. Like it was Good Will Hunting goes to the zoo, and then it was a spy thriller, and then it was like a heist movie, and then like they wrote all kinds of shit for Good Will Hunting. They just know they wanted to make this movie about this guy, and they finally nailed it, and that's what it came down to, right? And I think they won an Oscar for that screenplay. But that's what it took to get that story out, is they got it rejected every step of the way, and they just kept going and grinding and grinding and grinding and getting that story out, and eventually turned into the movie that it is, which is, it's a classic, I guess.
Well, with books and screenplays, they're a little more worth, multiple rewrites. And maybe I'll rewrite this one again, down the road after I let it sit, let it stew in the background. I'll Lucas it later.
Yeah, well, see, I don't know. I think when it comes to writing, like screenplays have, just in their very nature, the screenplay isn't the final product, the movie is, right? So I think there is like a different process where if you're doing that specific one, you're going to want to rewrite and rewrite and rewrite and rewrite. Like, I mean, I've got copies of screenplays that's like seventh draft, and there's like other writers typing on it, and there you get different colored pages and stuff, and it's been just unrecognizable from what it originally was, right?
I'm
But
just looking here, and it looks like a movie script around between 7,500 to 20,000 words, which is like not much, and compared to a book, right?
mm-hmm.
And that's 90 to 130 word pages.
Yeah.
So that really, a screenplay is relatively short compared to like a fantasy novel. A Stephen King book is like 20 screenplays.
No, it's very short. So, like, I mean, you can. I think my screenplay was 120 pages. And it works differently. Like, it's a whole other beast to get your head around. So every page is a minute of screen time, right? And I don't know if have you read many screenplays at all?
I have never read a screenplay.
Oh, I'll send you one. I'll send you one. You can give it a blast and let me know what you think. I've got a couple good ones, but it's a completely different beast. So it's just describing, like you just describe what everyone's going to see, but you have to do it in a way that's entertaining so that the person who's actually reading it, someone still has to sit down at the end of the day and be entertained by what you're reading enough that they want to make a movie out of it, right? So there's a way of writing it.
It's basically, it's like a script. It's the script, right?
It's the script, yeah.
Yeah. So I think I saw one of those when I was in high school.
Yeah, I got a couple good ones. That's the first thing I did when I got on the internet was I went to a page called Drew's Scriptorama. I think it might still be there. And they had just like really crappy versions of screenplays that weren't like, it was just a big text file. So I'd have to like, I'd download the text file or someone would send it over to me or whatever, or I'd download it off their site. It'd take forever on dial up. And then I'd go into Corel, what was a Corel writing? Corel Write, and I'd have to format it all into proper screenplay format because there's a way that it has to look, or they'll throw in the garbage. And
I believe the writing program I use has a screenplay option. Never used it.
No, it's handy. Like some of the I've played around a bit with the screen. I actually started another screenplay and got 40 pages into it before I kind of stopped. And that'll be the one I do after this. I have to finish it off, but there's a free one on the internet called Celtx, and it's great. You can go on there. They have manuscript format and everything. And there's a free version, but they put a watermark on there, and I think they might, I don't know. I have funny feelings about putting stuff out in the cloud onto a service that's not really like on your machine or whatever. It's kind of funky to me, but I did it anyway. It's a good free option. There's Final Draft. I don't know if you've ever seen that one.
Don't think so.
Nah, it formats stuff for you for screenplays, but it's a different beast, screenplays. But what I was getting to was I think there comes a point with a screenplay, which is you're shooting the movie. It's over. You've written it. It's over, and there's no take backs. And the same goes with a book. Like once it hits that publishing stage, it's over. And the odd time you can go back and you can kind of put out, and I know books have done this. There's been Stephen King is another example. He went back and the original version that came out of The Stand wasn't quite as meaty, so he came out a couple years later and he put out the complete version, like the one that he really liked because it was a popular book, and he was like, well, if you like it, here's more, and he put out the giant 1,300 page version that we all know and love now. So there are exceptions to the rule, but usually the rule is a rule. Like if it's published, it's out there. It's done. It's over.
I guess the big thing is if you're going to be going back to do the other work, you don't stop going down the road. Like Stephen King didn't stop writing his 2,000 words of other stuff. He did that as well as.
Yeah, that's the thing with him. He writes 2,000 words a day. So that whole story was already in the pipe, and most of it was all just stuff that had been thrown away by the editor or whatever, right? So he was just able to come back and go, you know what? Here's the way it should be. Here we go.
Yeah,
Yay.
He didn't go back and waste a year fixing it up.
No, an editor did that.
He was still rolling ahead.
Yeah, someone else did that. So yeah, he was still steamrolling. He was writing all kinds of crazy stuff after that one. So but there's the odd time where there's exceptions to the rule, right? So I guess it all depends on whether or not you think it's worth it, right? I mean, when I was doing that picture, I got to the point where I was putting it in that frame, and I kind of had that moment where I was like, is it worth it if I just start this over again? I could be done in like 5 days, but it was like 3 days before her birthday. So I had to get it done, and I just had to let it go, and it turned out great. So I'm overly harsh with the stuff I do. And like I said, I don't like to show it a whole lot. So, um, yeah, it's tough. It's tough putting yourself out there because they're your babies, right?
Well, I guess that's just what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to hold each other accountable and keep rolling. And
Yeah.
same thing with any of our guests if they're creating. I know, for instance, Dave, he's working on his next project already.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my other friends, he's got his project almost ready to go. He's waiting until he gets the Spanish translation of it finished, and then
Oh, wow.
he's out the door. And that's his second book. So that's it. It's not about, we're not trying to make a living from it at this point. We're just gonna do it,
No, we do it because we
right?
like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And that's why you should do things.
No, if it puts a lot of pressure on you if you're going to switch careers and start screenplays.
Well, yeah, then it's not fun anymore, right? Like I liked writing screenplays, and it's still kind of a fun thing to write. Um, but it's just like anything. When you try and do something for a job, you really find out if you like it or not.
And you might wreck it for yourself.
Well, it is like, I mean, it's this is going to sound weird, but like I did have the opportunity to work on an independent film when I was younger, and one of the things I found out is that I just don't like, I like the writing part. I like everything up until the screenplay, but I didn't like being on a movie set. I didn't like how it wasn't a fairy tale, like a magic fairy tale. There's just a lot of waiting, and it was like we didn't have any money, so you're cold and out in the boonies, and people are mad at you because you don't have stuff and a bathroom to go to and all these things that you don't think of when you're 19 and out in the boonies making a movie. But it just kind of sucked the magic away from me, and I think I liked it up to that point, and now I know that, and that's where I'd kind of stop. So my love for that whole uh, medium would be up until that story's written, and I learned that by doing it, right? Like, you learn what you don't like when you do it. And the other one was comic books for me. Like, I sat down, and the story that I'm writing now, I actually tried to make a comic book in 2004 and tried to take it to San Diego and failed miserably. But I learned that when I sat down it takes a lot to draw a comic book. You have to do 22 pages roughly for an issue. And I was kind of doing an issue format. And there's, I don't know, every page would take me, 10 hours to draw. Came out wacky because I didn't have enough experience, or like I didn't have any speed. So I'd try and keep myself to like a 10-hour page. And I'd come home from work and I'd sit down and I'd grind out this comic book. And I just realized that I love to draw, and I still do to this day. I doodle all the time. I'm drawing superheroes and drawing all kinds of crazy shit all day long. But I didn't like doing it for a job. And that's what it felt like to me. I sat down for 10 hours and I was like, you know what? This is taking the fun out of it for me. I like to draw, but I don't like to draw under pressure, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah. And that's just the way things are, right? Like writing, I can write under pressure. That's not a problem, and I actually enjoy it. The thing is, I have to be able to write about what I want to write about.
Yeah.
It'd be different if I was sitting down to write about accounting or something boring. If I get to make up my own stuff and pick my own topics, that's great. But that's different than what it would be as if you were flat out producing to make a living. You might not be picking what you're writing about.
Yeah. And that's kind of like the whole, I don't know, I guess that's with when it comes to creative writing or the way that things work now. I mean, you're kind of, for more all intents and purposes, you're putting out these articles, you're freelancing, right? So you get to decide what you write about. There's nobody telling you have to go to a baseball game and interview all the players, or go to a house fire and talk to the fire chief, or you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the old school kind of a reporter would do, or a journalist or something like that. So you get to write kind of just whatever you want about whatever topic you want. It doesn't have to be like quote unquote news based or anything like that. It's just like shit that's in your head, so you can fire it off, and that's okay. Like, I mean, that's the sort of headspace that I think I'd operate into. I mean, yeah, it'd be a tough one to do if you had to slog through and write about something that you really had no bearing in. Sometimes I try to do that anyway, just write about something that I don't know anything about, because then it forces me to learn it. But at the same time, like, you want to do something where your interest lies, I guess.
Where your brain can fire on all cylinders.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the things that you like to think about, and if you get to think about them and write them all down, like, you're going to be just over the moon. I get to share this crazy thought with another person, right, or other people, and you can kind of get caught up in your own head and just kind of sit down and do all that stuff. And that's kind of the cool thing about writing and not being under the gun. I mean, we could. I don't even want to know how George R. R. Martin feels right now.
I think he needs to take some tips. He needs to get grinding.
He's got to get grinding. There's a whole bunch of people that are. I think there's a whole bunch of people telling him to grind, and he's like, "Well, you've already seen the fucking show. Like, what do you want me to do here?"
Well, he just needs to forget about that and do whatever he wants to do.
That's right. People are going to read it.
He's Lucasing himself now.
Yeah, that's a really weird. That's a really weird beat. I feel bad for that, because everyone's just kind of, especially now, because there's so many people who are sour to what came out on the television show, that everyone's just like kind of clamoring to get more meat and potatoes, I guess, out of his book. And it's just not happening. I don't know what the whole thing is, but he can do whatever he wants, that guy. I'm sure he's got like no pressure at all. And people are like just gunning him down on the internet. And he's like, I think the more people do it, the more he's like, you know what? Fuck off. He's not.
Well, maybe he's played it out. Maybe it's an idea that ran its course for him.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe the well is dry on that one. Maybe he needs to move on.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly think if I try and put myself in his headspace, because those things. I've got one of the books. I think I'm not a big fantasy reader. I don't know if we've talked about this, but I love it. But I can't. I have a hard time reading it. And I tried to read the first Game of Thrones. It's a big book. Like, those are big books, and there's a lot of story in there. And he's just like, he's a good world builder and everything. So there's lots of description. There's lots of character. Like, they're just great books, right? And they take a long time to write. I mean, and he's probably got, he's got a place where he wants to go with all these nuanced characters and everything like that. It's just, oh my God, the time it would take to bash that out and get it right. And the speed of the television show happening way quicker than he can write this book. The poor guy. He's got his work cut out for him.
I haven't even read those books. Maybe I'll give them a try sometime. We definitely have to keep grinding away at this podcast. So
yeah, we're keeping it going, man. It always turns into something. Do you got a cat there?
I do have a cat.
It sounds like a kitty. Look, that's a little cat.
Okay, well, I think that's probably a wrap for the evening.
Yeah, once the cat shows up, that's it.
That's right.
Well, it's been great, Tim. It's been a slice. I guess that's our catchphrase.
Yeah, it's been a slice, and we'll reconvene soon.
Yeah, I think we're doing an interview next, right?
I think so.
All right, I got to get reading.
Okay.
All right, take it easy.
Yeah, you too.